Take that, superhero fatigue! Deadpool and Wolverine becomes the 8th largest opening weekend ever. And I do believe this makes it the single largest R-rated movie ever. Hell, it is barely beaten by like $3 million by The Avengers. And The Avengers was not only PG-13, giving it a far larger audience to reach, but this was the Marvel Cinematic Universe at the zenith of its power, the peak of its popularity. And Deadpool and Wolverine is neck and neck with it. Because, okay, I've said this on multiple occasions previously, but it isn't that people are having superhero fatigue. It isn't even that people are simply sick of bad movies. It is that we don't have superhero movies anymore. That's the problem. And you can certainly argue that Deadpool and Wolverine are not your classic superheroes of the, Superman and Batman mold, but the thing is, the reason why Deadpool has been so successful, now on his 3rd movie, and why Wolverine's return was such a success as well, is because these two characters are the actual characters. Deadpool has always been played as Deadpool. Wolverine as well. Like, there's a very good reason why Wolverine became one of the most popular out of all of the X-Men after the, 14 movies or something out of the X-Men franchise? Most of which were not very good. Awful, in fact. And it brings to mind a bit of a quote here. So I've now rewatched the X-Men movies, and yeah, they're not good. They are not very good at all. But in the very first movie, you can kind of tell here that they're a bit ashamed of the fact that they're making a superhero movie. And like, this isn't really serious entertainment. It's superhero nonsense. It's comic book shit. We're better than this, right? As there's a scene where Wolverine complains about its costume, this kind of leathery suit thingy. It's like, is this, what was it? What was it said? Do you really leave the house like this? And Scott Summers retorts, it's better than yellow spandex. And that is exactly it. As in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, Ryan Reynolds also says, imagine a superhero costume in a superhero movie, in reference to the classic yellow costume of Wolverine. Exactly. We don't have superheroes anymore. Man of Steel is the perfect example of that. That was not a Superman movie by any stretch of the imagination. Even the recent Batman movies have sorely misunderstood the heart and soul of the character. Again, Bruce Wayne. Watch my movie on that one. Movie, film, video, details. But the point here is, Deadpool and Wolverine is exactly what it says on the title. It's Deadpool and Wolverine. It's those two characters doing what those two characters do. It is Deadpool being Deadpool, and it is Wolverine being Wolverine. It is one of the purest superhero movies I have damn near ever seen, and the audience are rewarding it beyond all expectations, particularly again considering the R rating that it did receive, again seriously shrinking down the available audience. And this is Disney's one big success recently, as of course, what happened to the Marvels, etc. Oh boy. With this and Avatar: Way of Water, a signal is being sent to Disney so loud and so clear that not even entertainment executives could possibly misunderstand it. Avatar: The Way of Water was a classic tale about fatherhood, about responsibility and family. Those old silly things that we used to have back in the day that used to form the crux of so much entertainment. And Deadpool and Wolverine, it's two dudes doing dude stuff. It's superheroes doing superhero stuff. Instead of... yeah. And crucially as well, Deadpool and Wolverine also beats Black Panther with an opening weekend of... was it in this there? Or was it on a previous tab? Let's see here. This one, I think. There we go. Black Panther, 202 million. Now see, Black Panther is kind of like the flagship sort of pseudo kind of woke entity film, right? There isn't actually that much woke in the movie. In fact, it's surprisingly based as in, yes, enforce strong borders to protect your culture against all outsiders or see it ruined. An interesting point there, sir. But it is often held up as the idea that if you appeal to the diverse market will come. Well, it is probably the single largest appeal to the diverse market there has ever been, and it too was a PG-13, and it too was defeated by simply two superheroes embracing every superhero cliche, simply unabashedly, unashamedly making a superhero movie. Surely, even Disney cannot fail to get the point now. And bear you in mind here, as I've said multiple occasions here, even if the message does land, which at this point I do believe it has been hammered home with near unvarnished, unignorable force, it is still going to take 3, 4, 5 years for this message to actually produce anything. And Deadpool and Wolverine is not an unqualified success just yet either, as I guarantee you after the previous success of the Deadpool franchise, what Disney is expecting out of this is probably something rather enormous. I would not in fact be surprised if they've got expectations of stretching up towards Endgame's level of total earnings, and considering the opening, yeah, they might just make it. But there is also the thing that I think Disney might be having a bit too much in the way of expectations for this one, being again an R-rated movie. Now, that should not be used as a shield against critique, because at the end of the day, the product must sell significantly well for it to be considered a success regardless. And since it was obviously a creative decision to make it an R-rated movie, well, that is not really a defense against failing expectations. And again, with Disney's repeated flops and with the entrenched nature of Disney's own DEI and HR opinions, this is going to be and needs to be a massive success. Especially as, this one happened around the same time as well. Robert Downey Jr. sets Marvel return as Dr. Doom in Avengers Doomsday. So, you know how a lot of the Marvel's nonsense was kind of like a bit of a sign of desperation? How they were trying to do the DEI thing in an effort to sort of replicate the Black Panther thing, but more likely simply because they were told that it would totally sell, etc. And yet it never did. This is probably an example of Marvel actually getting a bit desperate here, which will leave them even more open to the suggestion that, hey, maybe this is the way to go, because bringing Robert Downey Jr. back is an interesting move, and considering the way he left, I damn near guarantee you they had to pay him a frankly astonishing quantity of cash, and this is a weird role for him as well. Like, how is this even gonna work in the continuity? Multiverse nonsense, I'm sure, and this also feels like it kind of sort of attacks the Fantastic Four idea as well, it feels like. I don't know. It strikes me as a strange move on multiple levels, and almost certainly an extraordinarily expensive one as well, expecting his name alone to sell tickets, even though, I mean, this is going to be nowhere even remotely similar as kind of role as Iron Man at all. And even if they do make it a big thing, I fear that Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom will actually, in essence, outcompete the superheroes for attention and for gravitas on screen, which, again, kind of misses the point of this, where if you want to build a good superhero franchise, you kind of rely upon your superheroes being the primary draw, being the main attraction, and being the shining stars. If you focus all of your attention on the villain, then no matter how good that villain is, you're sort of kind of shooting yourself in the foot long term, as a villain is, at the end of the day, supposed to be a foil to the hero. You know, It's kind of leading me back to that whole thing about Harley Quinn, doesn't it? Where you simply cannot have supporting characters anymore. You can't have ancillary characters, characters whose primary raison d'etre is to add gravitas to other characters, to increase their importance and build them up in the world. Instead, now everybody has to be their own hero. I mean, hell, this is an excellent example of that, where these two characters play off each other extraordinarily well, where in many ways Wolverine becomes a little bit of the supporting character to Deadpool, whilst Deadpool also kind of allows Wolverine to shine too. It is a surprisingly functional partnership considering the differences of the two characters, and their now rather long history actually in the preceding X-Men movies, etc. But in the case of Doctor Doom, I'm skeptical as to how that one's going to work out, but hey, if it is a success, then at the very least we'll have another successful movie championed by Robert Downey Jr., never a bad thing, and if it's an enormous failure, well, it'll hammer home the point of Deadpool and Wolverine even more fiercely, so win-win. Do let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and until next time, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for listening, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.